Welcome to our 5th lesson on quadratic functions. This time we're going to complete the square, but there's going to be a number in front of the x squared. So in our first lesson, just to make things easier, we never had that. So in this case, we're going to have to deal with that. Okay, and we got a set of steps to go through here. So step 1 here says that we're going to have to do something to both sides to get rid of the number in front of the x squared. Well, it's 2 times x squared, so I can divide both sides by 2. So I end up with y over 2 equals x squared plus 8x plus 10. Okay, and now I go through the same steps as I did last lesson. If you haven't done lesson 4.4 yet, please go back and do that, or this will make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Leave a big space here, plus 10. So y over 2 is going to be x plus 4 squared, which we need a plus 16 minus 16 here, so that'll be a minus 6. Okay, and now we don't want y over 2, we want y. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. Going to have to rainbow that 2 in there. So y over 2 times 2 is just y. 2 times x plus 4 squared is just that. The 2 just sits on the outside. And negative 6 times 2 will be negative 12. Okay, there's 2 things we need to check here. One is that this number and this number are the same. They're always going to be the same number, because we're just going to divide by 2, multiply the 2 back, it's always going to end up there. Second thing you want to do is grab the vertex and check. So in this case, to get 0 squared, x is going to have to equal negative 4, and that'll leave us with y equals negative 12. And the vertex also checks out. So chances are we did things right. Okay, question 2 now is slightly different. We've got a negative 1/2 times the x squared. So if I multiply both sides by negative 2, then I'll have negative 1/2 times negative 2 is just 1, or just x squared. So we'll have negative 2y equals x squared minus 10x plus 2, and actually, I might as well write that plus 2 over here, save myself some work. So that's going to be x minus 5, which means that has to be plus 25, and that has to be minus 25, which means that's going to be minus 23. Last step, get y by itself. Divide both sides by negative 2, so y is going to equal, so x minus 5 divided by negative 2 is going to be negative 1/2 x minus 5 squared, and then plus 23 over 2. So my vertex, when I want, to get 0 squared, I'll need x equals 5. And then y will be 23 over 2. So notice now we need to check to make sure that this and this are the same, which they are. And now I can check my vertex in the original. So notice I just went 5 times 5 is 25, minus 1 is just 24. Now I need a common denominator. So I'll have to go 24 over 1 times 2 over 2. And that's true. And more fraction-y fun to get us ready for Chapter 7. So we're going to have to divide both sides by -4 to get a 1 in front of the x squared. So we get y over -4 x squared minus 9 over 4 x, and then plus 1/2. And again, save myself a bit of time, write the plus 1/2 over here. Okay, so I need half of -9 over 4. So -9 over 4 times a half equals -9 over 8. Oops. And now I need -9 over 8 times itself. And that's going to be 81 over 64. Oops. And now I need -81 over 64 plus a half. So that's going to be the same as -81 over 64 plus 32 over 64, which is -49 over 64. That's going to be minus 49 over 64. Perfect, and now we need to multiply that -4 back into both sides to get y by itself. So we get y equals -4 x minus 9 over 8 squared. And now we've got -49 over 64 times -4 over 1. Oops, that's not a 1. And that is going to give us 49 over 16, because 4 over 64 is 1 over 16, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So that's plus 49 over 16. Alright, so our vertex at 0 squared is going to be 9 over 8 for x, and 49 over 16 for y. First thing we want to check is that that -4 and that -4 are the same, which they are. Now we can check to make sure our vertex makes the original true. That's a 16. So we got 49 over 16 equals -4 over 1 times 81 over 64. And 4 over 64 is the same as 1 over 16. And then plus 81 over 8. And we're eventually going to have a common denominator of 16 if the left side is going to equal the right side. So that's going to be minus 32 over 16. And to get the common denominator there, we'll need to multiply by 2 over 2. So we get 49 over 16 equals -81 over 16 plus 162 over 16 and minus 32 over 16. So we get -81 plus 162 minus 32 does equal 49. So we're good.